Happy New Year and welcome to In Cadence, episode. No, it's the new year, 2026, and I can't even get the beginning of the intro to the podcast right. Should we start
Come on.
again? Take
Shall I
two.
start again?
Disclaimer at the beginning: we're not professionals. Season 1, episode 14 of In Cadence. Welcome to PAX Everywhere. I'm Keith, 43 Flea.
And I'm Ken, 51 Shredder. I think you know who we are by now, don't you?
Yeah, I think everyone's listening and is familiar with the voices. Slight change, Shredder, to this episode. I think we'll just explain to everyone who's listening what the difference in format is and why we're doing it. This time we're not going to have a guest on. It's going to be myself and Shredder talking about a particular topic that's quite relevant this time of year. And as it's the first podcast that we're going to release in 2026, we thought it'd be appropriate to have an episode talking about FNGs and potentially an episode that we would like you to share with anyone who's thinking of turning up to an F3 workout in the near future. So if you're someone who you're thinking to would be benefit from or would appreciate what we're doing in terms of the fitness journey that we're all on, please share this episode, let them have a listen, understand, and we'll go into a bit of depth about what we do, why we do it, and some of the silly names. For example, why are you called Shredder?
Yes, why was I called Shredder? Yes, when I got named. Look, I have to think we should be slightly cautious about over-promising because we're not professionals, but this is one of those keen moments, isn't it, where I put out a post yesterday on some Facebook groups and within an hour I got somebody messaging me going, I'm interested in coming. What would it mean? And so I think it's a good chance for us, like you say, to create a resource that might help people with an FNG. I think there's also the chance to perhaps define some of the types of people. If PACs are out there thinking, who should I be asking? I said to Flea, just for the benefit of you as listeners and watchers, perhaps there are certain groups of FNG, as well as we see sad clowns, guys out there who they're not ready. But when you're looking at people, you might kind of identify one or two things from what we say. So we're going to try and crack this, perhaps like a soft-boiled egg, bring this FNG thing up to a perfect temperature, and then hopefully, gosh, look at me bigging it up. This is dangerous. Well, let's talk about FNGs together, Flea.
I think the first question that jumps out to me, and if I take the angle of someone who doesn't know much about F3 or what we do, what's an FNG?
And there's the good starter, isn't it? You know, when someone turns up and you say to them, you're an FNG, what does that mean? And PACs know it means friendly new guy. I think there might be one or two other options, but in our AO, and I assume in your AOs up in Leeds, it means friendly new guy, right?
It is friendly new guy. It is coined from an American military term, FNG, where it's less friendly F that's used in the initials, but yeah, when in use in F3, it's friendly new guy. So someone who's turned up for the first time to an F3 workout, probably doesn't know anyone there, doesn't know what's really going to go on, just turning up and saw these free workout groups that are running in his local area and is taking the jump to come and join us in the mornings.
So my follow-on question for us really was whether we could identify what sort of FNG we were when we started. You thought about that?
I have, yeah. And it's something that I was talking with and we'll come on to what that means shortly. So my wife, because she pointed out the Facebook post to me, and the reason why she had delivered the hard truth to me about my fitness at the time. I was significantly more overweight than I am now. So another 30 kilos on top of what I am now. So what's that, 4 stone, 5 stone. And I was in a position where I wasn't really wanting to go and do any exercise by myself. I could go on walks, and we went up Snowdon with her and stuff, but it's not something I would do habitually. And I'd toy of going to a hotel gym if I'm traveling with work. I wasn't in a routine or have any accountability to do workouts by myself. So my fitness was zero. That combined with a busy work schedule, I was traveling a lot with work. I didn't really have many male friends that I'd talk to through the week. So for me, a couple of reasons. One, I was looking for accountability on workouts, someone to work out with, because for me, that worked out better. And I always work out better as a group, like in a class or whatever. But also when you do work out with someone, you become quite pal and you can get a bit chatty and it's someone to talk with apart from your colleagues or your wife or your family. So opening that social network. And that's where I was in. I was missing those things. And that's what appealed to me about a male group of guys working out. And I thought, well, okay, could work for me. Let's go and try it. What about yourself?
Well, I was thinking about what Dredd says about this kind of transfer of attitudes from this place where we go, we can't, where you think physically there's loads of stuff you couldn't do. And I was writing today for work and I was kind of processing this. Interestingly, I was writing for a Sunday service and I ended up writing, this is about getting right and living right, leading right, and then leaving right, and I actually wrote. And that's kind of the core four quarters of the quadrants in F3, that the way we want men to grow. And I'd gone past a lot of my can't in terms of not being able to do any exercise. I started off in an online group called Man Alive, just as COVID started. Did a year or so with them. Enjoyed it, but felt dissatisfied. Then I went into Joe Wicks's body coach group. Started on Advance because I knew I was capable enough to do a decent amount and was smashing it and enjoying it. And then got onto Caroline Girvan because the Joe Wicks workout wasn't hard enough. I was struggling with people excited to push themselves. So that's kind of where I came in, because I've been doing okay in isolation. I dropped from 120 kilos down to 80 and I was beginning to put a bit of muscle on, and it was, but I drifted because I was kind of backsliding because I didn't understand about some of the acronyms, some of the terminology we use now about the king and the queen balance. So I was working out hard, but I was beginning to gain weight again up to nearly 100 and just struggled. And then that was when I was told by a friend in America, I do this thing called F3. I think you'd love it, because we call it, for people who are watching this or considering coming, every session is you post. That's when you say, I'm coming, or you say, I'm away for work. You just always respond to the person that's leading to tell them what you're doing. And I was doing that on Facebook. So every time I did a workout, I was posting what I did, the reps, pictures, a video, just like the videorama that we do at the end. I was doing it on my own. And so when I kind of came to the point where I went, right, I want to try this, it was more because I was missing what we call it is second F, isn't it? Is fellowship. I certainly wasn't the fastest and the fittest, and I'm still not, but my fitness was adequate in terms of workouts that were challenging me. So I kind of came in for that fellowship as the lead part of that triangle of the three Fs.
Yeah. But that sounds like your starting point at F3 was a little bit more advanced on the fitness than what I was. So I was 140 kilos. What was that, 22, 23 stone?
Got to be, yeah.
So, anyone's listening to this who's thinking, oh, well, I'm not fit enough to start. I need to be fitter to join these guys who are already working out. It's false, completely false. And no matter what age or ability, F3 as a concept and as a movement is open to any man to come and join us and work out. So please don't worry if your fitness level is below that, what you think of average. You might surprise yourself. It's amazing what the human body can do. And especially when you're in a group of guys who are familiar with what's going on. They're there to help you and support you through that journey. We've all been there. We've all been in FNG once. We've all been that person who's turned up for the first time, not knowing what to expect, not knowing anyone there potentially, and unsure of your fitness performance versus everyone else. Don't worry. Everything's relative. Everything's scalable. We can help to modify down if we need easier options in terms of exercises. So, don't put blockers up.
And I think in addition to that, there's also some other things that we can give people good news about if they're interested in trying to come, because if you've tried to push through or you've tried to motivate yourself to exercise. You know, sometimes when I'm up really early for a beat down for one of the sessions, I'll occasionally see someone out jogging. And I'll be honest, when I see somebody out jogging on their own at kind of like 5 a.m., they're often quite big. And sometimes I worry that they're doing that because they're embarrassed about their size. And I want to roll down the window, go, come on. But then I don't want to scare the crap out of them and then fall over and hurt themselves. But I'm really proud of them. And I think what you need to be not worried about when you come to an F3 session is F3 is not the gym. I'll be candid enough. There are not many tossers in F3, you know, whereas gyms quite often are full of them. There are not many toxic people in F3. Again, gyms can be quite full of them. People that you're going to meet on your first session, on your 50th session, on your 500th session are people who generally care about you, and they succeed because we succeed together. And that's one of the things that's so revolutionary. You can sit down and like you said, well, I'm not fit enough. I need to get fitter before I go, or I need to know people, or you can put these barriers up, but they're false perceptions, I think, and that one of culture is massively important, I think, for people coming in to be able to go, I'm not going to get treated like crap. I'm not going to get ignored. I'm not going to get laughed at, left behind, left out. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see people who, however good they are, good is in inverted column, you know, quotations, because it depends on the exercise as to who is most proficient, but they go in the same direction. And that's something that's really powerful for us as men, because most of the time we're like, you see John Travolta, don't you, often that meme going, where am I? It's a bit like Mr. Bean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where am I? Yeah. And I think most of us as men, even though we might deny it, we live our lives in that kind of, where am I going? What's going on? Whereas actually sometimes, I mean, one of our great guys that you met, Bora Bora, was EH'd by my fellow AAQ at the time, Winger, after I said to Winger, go and get him. And he ran half a mile across 2 rugby pitches to grab him, to EH him. And this poor guy's just going on his own trying to jog, you know? And it's now, he's 52 BDs in, and he's got a family. And next week is his VQ. And I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of Bora Bora. He's quiet and reserved. Yeah, just like me. He's going to lead men. And I'm so excited to see what that does to him and what that does for other men. That is 100% the opposite of most of the experiences that most people have in a lot of the gyms in our lands.
There's loads to unpack there, Shredder, of what you've just talked about. EH, what does that mean? Who's dread?
Oh, yes.
First, second, third Fs, what's that about? But your point there on about a VQ, I think that's one I definitely want to just jump on. So one of the 5 core principles that we've got in F3 is that there's rotating leadership. And by leadership, in this case, we talk about someone who is leading the workout on the day. And that person is called a Q. And when you've done enough sessions, it's your turn. You don't get that at the gym. You don't get that in a Les Mills body pump class when the instructor says, okay, you've been coming now 3 years. Now you take the session. That doesn't happen. Whereas in F3, we actively encourage it. We see that as fundamental to help you develop your confidence and your leadership skills. So not only is it a fitness class, it's also a bit of a leadership development skill set as well to do that.
And we're stronger because of that, right?
Exactly, yeah. And to have that confidence in that planning and that delivery of something that you've thought out to a bunch of other men is a fantastic set of skills. It is transferable to your everyday skills and anything that you can use within the workplace. So yeah, there's some really sort of, I'd say, fringe benefits of turning up for those workouts. As I said, after a couple of dozen, will help you to prepare and to lead a bunch of men through going through a workout.
I like, obviously you said that I mentioned Dread and OBT were the 2 guys that started F3. I like one of the phrases that he often says, you know, the person leading the session, the Q, is responsible for the outcomes. Lots of guys out there, and not just guys, but we're talking about men because F3 is open to all men. But there's lots of guys out there who've lost sight of the fact that in a good way, they can be responsible for the outcomes that benefit men, their circles of life, their communities. And I just think it's so amazing to think of this person who sometimes, as we both know, appears in the dark in a strange place and looks around saying, is this where the free workout is? That over this period of time, I mean, one of our newer guys, Biltong, he's South African and was a UK Marine. I think on his 6th session just before Christmas, he said to me, when I come back, can I cue? Can I lead? And I was like, yeah, we'll talk you through the theory. We'll help you understand the principles and practice. And absolutely, just please don't kill us. Because I think he's going to be good with his army background.
Excellent. Well, should we touch on the names that we've got? So I introduced myself as Flea at the top of the show. And you introduced yourself as Shredder. Why have we got those names? Why aren't we using Keith and Ken, which are our actual names that we were given at birth?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'd be interested to see what you felt when we got to that point in the BD. You know, my first BD was my first session, the first workout, the BD, the beatdown, 60 minutes, incredibly chaotic. I totally had the wrong shoes on. I'd worn my flat shoes that I do lifting in, like barefoot shoes. And we got to the end and somebody said to me, everyone's going to say their hospital name, their birth name. They're going to say their age. And then they said about respect and respect. And then they're going to say their F3 name. And then at the end, you're going to tell us about yourself and we'll suggest options for you. And that will then become your F3 name that everybody everywhere will refer to you as. And obviously I just talked about, because people who've seen me before on the podcast, us before on the podcast, know that I'm a pastor in a church, a vicar, priest, whatever you want to call it. And I was expecting something to do with that, or I worked on ships and I was expecting seamen or something. I was like, I didn't realize it. Thankfully, in the UK, we don't do, seamen or any pugwash character names because you have to be able to tell your children. This is a really important rule. So if you're sitting there watching this and I don't know, there's something dodgy that you think if I tell them that, they're going to call me dog turd or something. That doesn't happen in the UK. In America, all bets are off, right? Pretty much, I think. But here, you tell them about stuff, embarrassing stuff, fun stuff, life stuff. And then they'll just throw out options. And somebody said, you've lost so much weight, Shredder. And I was like, okay, then. That was it. So furthermore, I'll be named Shredder. Except perhaps if I do what the Yanks do in some places where if you do 100 concurrent sessions, you get to be called Sir Shredder. We'll see. And I know how you got Flea, but people listening don't. So why don't you tell us about that?
They don't, yeah. Well, I was the first person to turn up at the Leeds session that started. So as I said, my wife saw them advertised on Facebook, and I was the first person to turn up in the not so dark then. It was September, so it was mildly dark enough. But yeah, so there was only 3 of us around the circle when we went around for the namings. I didn't have so many people to reference and to talk through what was going on. It was just a matter of, okay, you'll get a nickname. So okay, just went with it. So yeah, but my story is I was a semi-professional bass player back in the days, and I was asked who your favorite bass players, and Flea was one of the ones that was mentioned, and that stuck. So I'll take that. There could have been a lot funnier or less appropriate ones. Like for example, I work in the packaging industry. We do a lot of cheese packaging, so the potential options for anything cheese related could have been disastrous. So I was happy with Flea.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
why do we have nicknames though, Shredder? Why do we go with that and not the real names?
That's a really good question. Do you know what? I'm not sure I understand that myself. I was thinking about this. I think there's fun in having a nickname, isn't there? There's the idea that you can have something which identifies you in a fun way to the other men there. This is a terrible answer. You tell us, Flea. Why do we actually have nicknames? Come on.
Well, I'm not 100% sure either of the concrete answer, but my understanding is that it's a leveler. Is that you turn up in the field or a car park to do this workout, and everyone who's turning up is on the same level. No matter what you do for a day job, no matter what your history, whether you're a millionaire or a recovering alcoholic or drug addict or whatever your background is, it does not matter when you turn up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning for the workouts. That you're all the same, and to have a nickname takes that backstory and that day job out of the equation. You're no longer the day job person turning up. You are Flea or Shredder who's turned up for the workout with the rest of the guys.
I mean, I have to say, one of the things I like in terms of a reason is it helps me remember names better.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at remembering names, you know. But yeah, if I'm in the field and it's as long as I can see the person, I'm like, oh look, it's Mario. Look, it's concrete, and I seem to have much better recourse for stupid names than I do for actual. If we had 8 Marks, you'd be Mark, and eight of them would turn around. But so I think yeah, I like that idea that it levels us. I think it also helps us to remember each other in a good way. And it's very encouraging as well. One of the things you'll find if you do come and you post with us and you become an FNG is usually you'll hear people shouting, "Come on, FNG! Good work, FNG!" And one of the things across the board is I do like how generally vocal and encouraging F3 workouts are as an environment. You don't hear that again, another thing, you're not be in the gym on the Smith machine and someone will go, "Come on, Marcus, you're doing a good lift there." It's people don't give a monkey's what Marcus is doing, do they really? Whereas recently on their podcast, Dredd was talking with Dark Helmet, the current Nantan, the guy that's in charge of F3 Nation. And they were talking about how big a group should be. And Dredd said, you should be able to look everybody in your group in the eyes about every 30 seconds. If you can't do that, it's too big. That was
Yeah.
illuminative to me. I was like, that is very interesting. So yeah, so you don't need a big group, and the nicknames help us to connect.
They do.
And it's good for banter as well, especially if you're doing something a bit crazy, like some of the more out there events we've got coming up. Like you guys have got a crazy event booked soon, haven't you?
Yeah. I think it's a good thing to point out there. I mean, the whole principle of F3 groups and those that have set up aren't massive. You're not going to turn up and there's going to be 30 or 40 guys there for a standard workout. We normally work with a couple of handfuls at the most. So we're talking maybe a dozen on a good day. 15's probably the top end. I've seen it as low as 2. So
in
anything
Finland.
in between there is expect anything up there, but above 15, it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
What we encourage at that point is when it gets to above that certain level, is that we spin off and we separate the group and we have set up a different location so that we can attract in more men who might be interested in joining for free workouts.
Yeah.
That's, don't expect hundreds of guys all in the same car park. It'll be a dozen, just over a dozen at the most.
Yeah. And that's good too, actually. Sometimes it can be a bit intimidating. I can think of at least one PAX I know that doesn't like bigger groups than about 10. They struggle with those numbers. There was something, just to go back a stage, that I did forget to say when we were talking about the differences and you mentioned in terms of abilities. Just wanted to highlight a couple of other things around that occurred to me. With Olympian in the Midlands being blind, sometimes some of our other faculties that we may not have, whether it be sight or other losses. We have a guy in Surrey and Sussex in a wheelchair, and we've a couple of guys well in their 70s. Not suggesting being in your 70s is a disability, by the way. It's just that you have reached a very good age. They're not barriers either. So again, if you're listening or watching this and you think, I only have one hand, you'd still be welcome, mate. And if you've only got one leg or one eye, or I'm going to say deaf, I hope we got the captions right today. Nobody used to say anything like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious when there's captions, do they? That would be almost untenable. I could think of the fragility of life and other things to make captions more challenging, but that
It's
would
like
be
that
inappropriate.
Blackadder scene where he starts reeling out all of those words out that aren't in the
I am
dictionary.
spasmodic, peptotic, positively, cataclysmically. Oh, anyway. So, things like that are not barriers. We make them barriers, but you come any ability as long as you're able to come in your own capacity. So you should be 18. Just come, and we'll take it from there, and that will be superlative.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll talk through what you might need to bring, the typical equipment that you might need. We'll come on to that in a minute. Just to wrap up the naming convention, so Shredder, any funny nicknames that you've heard on your travels, or any ones you like to spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, he's not stuck, which is a bit of a sadness to me. But when I was queuing a session at the Weir, we had Mr. Tumble, who was a groundskeeper at Chelsea and fell over in front of the stadium full of people just before a match. He was particularly highlight for me. What about you?
It's quite a few from Yorkshire. Cream tea came about because he admitted that he liked a cream tea on his holidays in Devon, so that stuck. He would have preferred something a bit more manly, shall we say, but he got stuck with that one.
A bit
Lager
pasty,
Top.
couldn't it?
It could have been it.
Yes.
Lager Top admitted that he liked having a Guinness when he goes out and to watch the Leeds United matches, and then got called out by one of the other packs who knew him. Said, "Oh, actually, no, you drink Lager Tops." So, so that one stuck pretty well. And another guy, he turned up. We asked him, what was his favourite food, and he said boiled eggs. So boiled egg it was. So that stuck. But I did admit one from the circuit that stuck with me that I just cracked up laughing. I think it was his second session, was sausage.
Sausage.
Yeah.
That's a Blackadder name, isn't it? Sausage.
It was, yeah. Just hear Gus shouting sausage as he was doing laps around. Yeah, that was great.
One of the newer packs at the Weir is called Jurgen, and he's a Liverpool fan. And for Christmas and their Secret Santa, he was bought the Jurgen Klopp. Who am I? Big thoughts, little kids, whatever, his book series. He was very excited, but because he was a Liverpool fan, I had to read it to him. Anyway, I'm an Everton fan, so I just apologise to all of the Liverpool fans out there for picking the wrong team. Yes, I think there's something. We did have one recently. He was going to be called Stumps, and afterwards he messaged me and said, "I've already thought about it a bit more. I'd like to change." And so it is possible to change. He wanted to be called Wolfer, which was the name of his first dog. Said he had a very good relationship. He really loved the dog. And obviously, dogs don't live forever. And he said, "Would it be all right if I changed?" And I was like, "Of course." Again, when you come, you don't have to say yes to terrible names. It is possible sometimes for things to be changed, I think, for the right reason. So yes, okay, yeah, because the packs that are there are not there to kind of belittle you. They want something that they can warmly and fondly tease you about and support you with. So when they call out your name, it is an encouraging thing. You must know it too. Sometimes when you're doing something that's really busting you up, there's nothing nicer than hearing someone shout, "Come on, Flea, you got this."
Yeah.
It lifts your spirits, doesn't it?
Yeah. Excellent. I think that wraps up the naming conventions that we've got in F3. Should we talk about some of the acronyms and lingo that we use? Some we've used already.
Yes.
I've heard you mention already.
Yes. It's an emotional headlock. That's when you get someone and you say to them, "Come on, fella, do you want to come to a free workout with me?" It's a funny term, right? I think it's, but yeah, that's the kind of idea that we emotionally, because obviously doing it for real is potentially a cautionable offence. So emotional is the way we do it. We say, "Come on, you need this. Or, as you know, sometimes your wife grabs you by the head and says, come on, you need this. So, yeah, emotional headlock.
Excellent. Cue, we've mentioned.
Yep. Yes, we have. We've
I
mentioned
think
the
we already
cue.
I think we already explained that someone who's leading the workout on the day.
Yeah. The beatdown.
The
BD.
beat down. Yeah, the BD. Linked to the Q is the AO. So the AO is our
Area of operation.
good. It feels a bit like a quiz now. It's just going
Does, doesn't it?
a
I don't know.
bit rapid fire. Yeah, so AO is that area of operations. And the area of operation, the AO will have an AOQ responsible for the running and the operation of that location. And Shredder is AOQ for the Brook in London.
You know what the worst part of all these acronyms for me is? It's not remembering them. It's been getting my phone to accept them in dictate. Because when I'm sending messages out to people quite often, I'll ask it to say something and I'll be using these abbreviations. And sometimes my phone gets it like that. And other times it really does write some strange things. But yes, we haven't done, I nearly said what it was then. COT. Why don't you tell us about the COT?
Oh, COTs, yeah, it's a really important one actually within F3. So again, this is one of our 5 core principles that we operate to. And this is our circle of trust. And this is how we finish our workouts. We will do typically 45 minutes, sometimes an hour workout, depending on the AO. And after that allotted time, we will then circle up. The Q will go around certain things within that COT, within the circle of trust. They are the count in, and so we'll count in how many guys have finished the workout. We'll go through and we'll do a name-orama, which is where everyone will go through and say their name, their age, and their F3 name. So to make sure everyone is accounted for at the end of the session. Normally do a little video of that for our internal social medias. And that COT is also the place where the Q will deliver a typical word of the day or some motivational chat or discussion, or it could be a quick topic that the Q wants to talk about. So that could be, well, it could be anything. It could be accountability on food and diets, for example. So I might say is the Q for tomorrow. I really struggled yesterday with my diet. I let it slip. I had 2 bags of Maltesers, okay. I
Yeah.
really, anyone
You
got any
should have
tips or
frozen
advice?
them.
Yeah.
Should have frozen them. They're much harder to
um,
eat when they're frozen, aren't they,
yeah.
Shaman?
So,
Yeah.
so the principle is that COT is a safe space for us guys to get around and have a talk. And it could be something quick, or it could be something really deep and profound. It could be something really personal. But that circle, as short as it may be, is sacred space for us to be able to talk about or raise any topics that are on our minds. Because it's not just a workout for the physical side of things; it's also a group that can support with more emotional topics as well, if needed. So a bunch of guys are there. And as Shredder said, really supportive, really welcoming, want to help you, want to support you, and always willing to listen and help out.
I feel like it creates a principle as well because, yeah, like you say, sometimes so the last workout that I led of the year, I just asked people to talk about what they were thankful for. And so it transitioned from me sort of saying something or reading something out to asking people after I'd said what they were thankful for at the end of 2025. And then it's often also a place where, like you said, if you're struggling, I sometimes call it emotional chicken after the fact that my son's school had what I thought he said was an emotional chicken. And he said, no, it's an emotional check-in, Dad. So I just sometimes will say, right, let's have a quick emotional chicken now. Does anybody want to get anything off their chest? Because, I remember driving home from a beatdown one day, and I tend to have a podcast on an early morning, usually catching up on something from one of the other F3 podcast teams. And I just caught this thing. There was an interview, the Princess of Wales. So Catherine had been to somewhere in Wales, and they were doing an interview with a lady because they'd started supporting a suicide charity, and the lady's interview just said, "Thank you, Catherine, for coming to see me. It's been so hard. We had a baby and we were very happy, and 2 weeks in, my husband drove home and then went and killed himself." And I had just not like profound, but I had tears in my eyes as I was driving home. And I remember going to the next beat down and saying to people, don't ever drive away with something big that you're struggling with, because this circle now is a principle that means whether it's through, so it's not an abbreviation, but BAND is the name of the app that all of our AOs and the AOs are in regions, they use BAND. In America, it's Slack. And I'm like, the circle of trust creates for me a place that means my door is open, and Flea and I, for those of you that don't know, we're both in this accountability group where we're looking at our food intake, and we call it a Queen groups. That's another one of the terms in F3. The Queen is what we take in, what we eat, and we use WhatsApp for that. And so I sit there and go, well, when people have got my band, my WhatsApp, and they know my name and they know who I am, I'm available. And if I can't answer, I won't answer. But I do think that there is too few places for men to know they've got support. And that circle of trust is the launch pad. It's the launch pad for I think for the fact that somebody should be able to turn around to their brothers and go, I've had enough. I need somebody to come and stand next to me and lift my arms up because I'm exhausted. I can't, not because of crab walks, because of life. Sometimes people will do the crab walks because it means they don't have to face what's exhausting them. But yeah, so circular trust is core, isn't it?
It is. It is. A couple of other ones that we've talked about already. Our
in the nicest possible way, long may she reign, the wife or the partner, depending on what term you use for your registered owner, keeper, and carer.
The boss, as
The
I
boss.
call her as well.
She must be obeyed. Yes.
2.0 notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
2.0s.
children, stepchildren, dependents, whatever you may have within that sort of collective.
Yes.
Him.
Him.
HIM. Him.
High impact man. I remember that one. I've done my work. High impact
done
man.
Some homework here.
Him.
What's a high impact man, Shredder?
What's a high impact man? So this in theory is a man who is accelerating in all the parts of their life. Smashing workouts, they're working on their relationships, they're trying to push forward, they're taking their DRP, their daily red pill, just to add another one in there. And another term that's connected with it is Flea, isn't it? Is accelerating. They're progressing. Again, if you go back to one of the things that Dredd has said and written and talked about a lot, it's basically he doesn't believe in this idea of null space, that coasting is kind of momentum. It's not. It's just the beginning of the slide, the fallback. So a high impact man is trying to move forward in all those areas. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because the status. I had something that I want to unpick at another time, but the status sometimes in F3 is if you get declared to be a high impact man, what do you do if you get points where you go, you know what, I'm not high impact at the moment, but I think even in this we have a safe enough space. We should have a safe enough space for honesty to turn around to say, look, there's areas at the moment where I can't, or I've just lost focus. But high impact man in theory should be inspiring himself to live right, to lead right, and in the aim that one day he'll hopefully leave right. I don't know if you know him as a media figure, but I've been following Para Dwyer in Ireland. He's Irish strongman, and on Saturday I posted on Band. He had a massive heart attack and died, and he was 40. and it's incredibly sad. But the truth is, we never know when we're going to leave. But at least I reflect that we're both trying to push forward in order that we have the option for the maximum longevity that we can get. I told you I was writing today, and I know when I was 120. I mean, the irony is I'm 5'9" and you're sort of 6'4", 400. We've both been really big. I was kind of a bit like Indiana Jones' second sidekick. I was just short and round. I was just like a ball, basically, and it was going to do me in. Yeah. Anyway, high impact man.
Yeah.
Blessing to be conferred, I think, not a status to be retained.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a temporary thing. But yeah, that acceleration's is an important principle. What are you doing today that's going to make you 1% better tomorrow? At least 1%
Yeah.
better. And that could be go for a workout. It could be keeping on top of your calories for the day. It could be doing something special for the wife or the partner. It could be going over and above at work. It could be, so what are you actively is the key, actively doing to improve your life and your
Yeah.
relationships with all the various things that you have going on in your life?
Yeah. What are you learning? How are you caring for yourself? It's an interesting thing, actually. The first quadrant, getting right. I think there's a component in that that's small that doesn't cease, even though perhaps it might seem that you've got right, and so therefore you live right. I think, because to me that's where the king and the queen are in that first quadrant, aren't they? So they don't end. You don't go, right, I've got right now, so I don't need to exercise anymore or worry about what meeting.
Yeah.
You're still trying to take care of those. We mentioned the first F, didn't we, and the second F?
We did.
So fitness and faith, and the third F is faith, isn't it? Faith in that kind of
Yeah.
greater component for some people, whether that's a faith in a god, or faith in themselves, or faith even in our collective ability. Some of the weird guys did a litter pick the other day, and let me show you this. Just going to reach across the table. We did the Father Fitness thing at Christmas. So Oasis charity near Walton we got involved with them and collected Christmas presents for kids. And we got a really nice message saying, I think it was something like 300 gifts or something crazy. Well, we were in Sainsbury's on Saturday looking through the Christmas sales. Look, so we this is not like just brought here for the podcast. My wife and I were like, these were £1. These were £1. So we were like, let's get rid of them all now. I'll make sure they're clean before we start give them to children. Chuck them. Shh, don't tell anyone. They had about 10 of them, and my M said to me, can we get them for the kids for Oasis for next year, for this year? And I was like, yeah. Is that okay? Because I have to store them in the house all year. And yes, I said, well, that's a good bit of preparedness, isn't it? Yes, then that's part of the third F, thinking about others, going past ourselves, not being, because we're supposed to, I'm not so sure we should try and pick living third right now, but we're supposed to have this idea of as virtuous, because there's another good word in F3, isn't it? Virtuous men, putting other people first.
Yeah. And that for me is that definition of the third F is outside of yourself. Certainly aware of people who've looked at F3 and then done some searching around websites and said, oh yeah, you're a religious organization. Well, actually, no. Well, we encourage you as a man to think of someone outside of yourself. Don't be 100% selfish. Think of relationships with other people. Think of what you're doing for your community, for your family, for your religious group. If you're that way inclined, I'm not. I'm quite openly say I'm atheistic, but I do believe in this. There's a greater good out there that we need to work for. Not just I don't need to work for myself. I need to work for the community and for relationships with other people and other organizations around us. Perfect example there. That charity you mentioned there, Shredder. Fantastic. There's a great example there of what I can do to add value outside of my life.
So it's going to be naughty now. Can I ask a naughty question?
Depends. So I need to mark the clips.
Yeah, mark the clip. Mark the clip now. My naughty question for you is this: is in terms of the way you see that belief, do you have faith in what you see as an atheist? Because
Do I believe it, and do I throw myself behind it? Is
where
that
that
what
you
you mean? Yeah.
where you talked a minute ago was about having faith in other men and other things.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
use the word faith, but you did. So that's a faith position.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not religion.
So this is the interesting thing, because
You can have
I
faith
would
without religion, which is
say that, because I don't believe in atheists, I believe that we're all faith position people, all of us.
Yep.
And so if somebody said to me, "You're religious," I would say, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm a faith person."
Yeah.
So that was my naughty question is because I do think that if we unpick it a little, I don't think there are many people that are walking around on the planet that aren't faith people. But I just think our terms have become, they're not so helpful for us as they might be. And I do think sometimes it creates a division which is based on bad histories or dichotomies and a lack. Because if you say to somebody like me, you say, "Well, you're religious and I'm not," you can create barriers. I mean, we don't really have them. I mean, there'll be bits that of course, there's things in life we don't agree on, but that would happen whether we were talking about a theistic view of anything anyway, or not. You drive a Tesla. I mean, I drive a Dacia. We'll have different views on cars and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, that was my naughty question.
But then if you ask me about, I say, organized religions.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean here? I'm talking all organized religions here.
Yeah.
Are there principles that I follow from those religions? Yes. There's some really good Christian principles. Love thy neighbor. Don't be a dick.
I don't remember which scripture
That pretty
"don't
much
be a dick"
summarizes
is
the
in.
New Testament, doesn't it? Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. It's not quite the words Jesus used, but
it's
I
close
think
enough.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah. It's like, look, be nice to people. Treat people as you expect to be treated.
Yes.
Don't do anything. Don't kill people. The 10 Commandments are a good starting point.
Yeah.
Don't believe the story behind how they got there, but the principles, I can stand behind most of them.
Yes. I got asked by my nearly 6-year-old on the drive home from holiday last week, "What do scientists believe about God?"
Ooh,
and I said, well, the last big study I saw said the position in 2020 was the same as the position in 1960. Around 40% of scientists went, "Yes, we believe in a creator." Around 40% go, "No, we don't believe in a creator." And around 20% go, "We don't know what we believe." And over the course of 60 years, that's where science is evolved with all of its theories and abilities. And I'm like, science is fabulous. They're constantly evolving and understanding. And then as we were crossing over the Dartford Bridge, my children wanted me to talk about the Big Bang. And I was far more concerned about a Big Bang on that horrible bridge. So I just asked them just to be quiet, let Daddy drive just for a few minutes. He just wants to get across this bridge.
Like that over the
horrible thing. Horrible thing.
There's a worse one in Lille.
No doubt. Anyway, look, we should.
Anyway, right, I'll remark it, and we'll come back in. Probably more agnostic than atheist. That 420, 40 ratio.
It's an interesting phenomenon for me anyway, where when it comes to views of eternity, there's these Christian views called things like amillennial, premillennial, postmillennial. And then somebody said, "I like panmillennial." And I was like, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, it'll all pan out."
All of them.
That is just brilliant.
That's
a proper theologian's gone,
yeah.
It'll all just pan out in the end. And I'm like, there you go, that'll do for me. I don't mind not knowing so many things because my brain can only take so much information in. And I think scientists like the music guy that's an astronomer,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cox,
Yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, the way he talks about the universe, it just blows my mind. But we don't know all of it all yet, you know. I mean, crikey, we don't know 80% of what's in the ocean,
I don't
you
know
know.
80% of what's in Manston Park, which is where we do our workouts.
You've probably been bitten by 80% of it, but right.
I don't
Anyway,
want to look at the other 20%. I don't know.
what mark are we on now?
Right, we're just finishing acronyms and lingo. I think it's probably just go straight into a cold entry to a clean entry straight into traditions and culture.
Traditions.
If there's anything to pick up in there, miss out COT and straight into
Yes.
disclaimer if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
take that.
Yeah,
To
okay.
do a lead into it. And
Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the traditions and the culture. When you come to your first session, one of the first things you'll encounter is a disclaimer. This will basically explain to you that you're there voluntarily. This may simply be a standard spoken version of a disclaimer that's used across locations. It might be something a bit more funky. We started, both of us, messing around with some AI technology to make it sound a bit more dynamic, varying from Christmas to Welsh male voice choir to a bit of gangster rap. Just a bit of fun that basically explains to you that you're choosing to participate and you must make sure that everything that unfolds you're happy to do. And yeah, you're there in your own individual capacity, exercising, and you're in a community to do that, but you're choosing to do that. And that's kind of really important because each location operates independently. And as it says, and as we keep saying in every podcast, we're not professionals, A good queue will make sure that they've done a risk assessment in their head for the session. For example, this is the time of year when we've got, even London has got freezing temperatures. Today I was there early and I assessed it and I've given, PAX. There you go. PAX is another name that we use a lot as an acronym, that we refer to the men on the ground as a group of packs. In fact, one guy could be packs, but that plural group, I warned them in advance if it was too frozen that I would be moving to the nearest piece of adjacent grass because it was a lot softer to fall on when it was frozen solid than a car park. But yeah, that's what the disclaimer does before we do that first count. And the first count does link to what you were saying before about the one at the end, because we want to make sure that we don't lose anyone. Because sometimes the BD, the session, is often about adventuring. And I can say from my experience, if you get to the end and the number's different, usually at least 2 or 3 people notice and they go, "What's going on? We had 12, now there's 11." And it's often that somebody's gone to work. And so you've got 10 minutes from the end and somebody's had to jet off. And that count at the beginning and that count at the end is part of the care and the accountability, which obviously leads us into the credo, doesn't it?
which is leave no man behind.
Leave no man
And
behind,
leave no
leave no
man
man
where
where
you
you can
found him.
find him. Yes.
So, principle is, make sure we've got the same amount of guys as we started with, or at least be able to account why the number is different. So that, it's very similar to, any military operations. You know exactly your resources at the beginning and at the end, and you can be able to account for what's gone on. So, that's why we do it, more than a simple bit of admin.
Today, I checked in with the queue because he told me they were going to be going for a mosey, which is an F3 name for a bit of a gentle run. And I said to him, my legs are too stiff to run. I've tried. And I asked him where he was going to finish. And I told him exactly where I would wait. And I just did push-ups and some other things while I was waiting for him, just to make sure that then when they went around the fields for their warm-up jog, they knew where I was and I knew where they were. So yeah, that accountability is really important because we do look after each other every session.
Yeah. And again, the consistency of what we do within one location, within one AO in F3 is pretty standard across those globally. So anyone in the UK who's listening to this, who's been maybe sent this as a pre-listen. If you turned up to a workout in USA or Netherlands or Spain or wherever else, the terminology will be the same and the exercises will be named pretty much the same, and the counting of the exercises will be the same, which leads us on to the cadence count.
Yeah.
Would you care to explain what that is, Shredder?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm slightly nervous if Dredd listens to this because I know he has been known to not move unless the cadence is spoken of in the right order. But for me, this means that when you're leading a session, you would say to, if you were leading certainly the warmer armor, because normally your main part, the thang, you kind of give a set instruction at the beginning, but you would start off by saying to people the next exercise is, and it could be little baby arm circles, at which point you expect the people gathered to repeat the name back to you.
Little baby arm circles.
Little baby arm circles. So if you're an FNG, you'll hear people talking a bit like the Borg. You'll hear all this stuff in cadence, literally going at the same time. So somebody will say, next exercise is little baby arm circles. You'll hear little baby arm circles. They'll say starting position, so there'll be a slight pause. And then it tells you to move to what you know the starting position is. As your first session, we forgot to say, you will have someone called a battle buddy. The battle buddy will kind of whisper in your ear and say, this means stand with your legs slightly apart, with your arms out like this. And then you'll probably get called to demonstrate. So there'll be a demonstration, at which point you'll go 1, 2, 3. And because it's a 4-count exercise, on the 4th rep, everybody will say 1. So it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
2.
There you go. Or if it's an exercise which is on my down, that would generally mean something like a squat. It could mean a merkin, which is our name for a push-up. But the cue will call, they'll say in cadence, and they'll tell you the count, whether it's a 4-count or an on my down, on my up. I like to use get-ups quite often, where you stand up, then you go all the way down, and then you come all the way up. And I call up and down just to help packs and also to keep them moving because I'm going too slow. And then when you're ready to start, you say and exercise, and each rep is called. And when it's the final rep, the cue will either start with and, or in some locations, and I know Flea's quite good at doing this, you change the tone of your voice to make it clear that that is the last rep. And as that finishes, you don't say 15 if it's the 15th rep. People say halt. And then you go on to the next exercise until you've done all the exercises. And that's the general use of cadence. You can use it, like I say, don't really use it in songs, do we? Generally no.
It's hard. It's hard in the songs. You've got to match your movements to the beat and the count. So it is difficult.
So generally it would be in the warmer armor, or so a few weeks ago I did a beat down where every 4th exercise every 3rd exercise I called the cadence. So they did 2 and it was Dora, so it was partners. They did 2. They had 20 reps to do of each in their pairs, and I was an odd number, so I just went solo. And after we'd done 40 reps, because it was the chipper, 700 chipper reps, then I said, and the next exercise is, and I called the cadence for 20, and then they went back to their pairs. So I kind of, that's kind of the normal places where you'd use it. You might use it in a cool down if you wanted to do something specific, like you were doing yoga and you were calling people to transition between bits. But the cadence count, I think that's one of the things that potentially FNGs and some newer packs struggle with because they think they sound like a pillock. But it is to keep people together. But it isn't just to keep people together, right? Part of the purpose of that is actually encouraging. When you're queuing a session and you hear people respond to you, you know that they're working with you. And it's actually quite an encouraging thing to hear that call. And some queues will quite clearly, because they can, stop packs and ask them to use their voices more clearly and more loud. Or on 1 or 2 occasions, I've heard queues go, you're not talking when you're supposed to be talking. Let's do this instead for a minute, because you need to be focused, and then it'll give them something horrible to do for a minute just to make them focus on what they should have been doing together. So cadence is across the board. You'll see it in every AO, and it's kind of what you do before you get to the next bit, which is about mumble chatter.
I just want to finish off with what you were saying there, Shredder.
Yeah.
If you come in for the first time, don't even worry about that. You'll have someone there as your battle buddy. They'll tell you what to do. All you got to do is just follow them. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to what they're telling you. Just follow what
Unless
they're
you're fitter than a bitch's dog, a butcher's dog. Fitter than a butcher's dog.
Butcher's dog.
Butcher's dog.
Butcher's dog.
Mate. A butcher's dog. It's called the Hall. The Hall. Hall.
Yeah. So your battle buddy will talk you through it. Don't worry about it.
Talk you through it.
Just so you know, when you hear the shouting out, that's why we do it, and that's the format that you'll hear. So yeah, mumble chatter. This is the idle chatter that goes on between packs while there's maybe a not a strenuous exercise ongoing. So if there's a light mosey or a light jog up between certain locations in the park, you may have some guys having a little chat about what they had for dinner last night, or some chat going on about the next curry night that's going on for F3 guys. It's just that mundane, idle talk that goes on between guys in the workout. Is there anything you want to add to that, Shredder, in terms of definition?
Yeah. I think sometimes if you're doing crab walks a lot, you might hear who took a dump in the Q's Cheerios. Sometimes you'll hear because I mean in the UK we say banter as much as mumble chat, really. I guess sometimes a bit of a place just to offer a bit of gentle tease or a bit of fun. Once I noticed one of the other packs in AO was using what I called half thickness bricks, and I asked him whose drive he'd stolen them from, and he said, well, they are from a drive, and I'm like, mate, they're about an inch thick. Can you not get some proper bricks like a grown up? And the next time I saw him, he was not using those little slim things again. So I've got some proper bricks now, and I'm like, it's just teasing you. It's just it's just mumble chat, it's banter. But it's nice to have a bit of, because we are boys still, we're boys having a bit of a laugh, and
at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, in
right?
-5 degrees like it was this morning. You need a bit of humour to get through in the morning, don't you? So
I know.
It's encouraged.
Absolutely.
Actively encouraged. Talking of things we see in every AO, the shovel flag. I always see a flag whenever I turn up at an F3 location. What's that about?
Yeah, so every AO has its logo that's come out of the brain of someone's head, isn't it? And that affectionately goes in the top of a shovel flag. And that's, I have to say, it was one of those things when I first saw it that I was like, that's very American, because we're not that we do have them, but I don't know many people in F3 who'd ever seen a shovel, proper non-top-handed spade type shovel, before they went to F3. I didn't even know we sold them. I mean, I knew they existed, but so we have that, and then we often have the nation flag, don't we? And if you're really lucky, there might be a third shovel with a stealable flag, which is a fun game for another time. But in
that's
theory,
the same with every AO, though, isn't it? Wherever you go in the world, there will be a AO flag. So the location flag, which will be some logo that's been designed by someone, and it'll have the name on there. So the Brook's got nice little picture of the park in black and white. Flea and Shredder there.
London, yeah.
The mansion in Leeds has got the picture of the mansion house that's in the background, ornated with some trees around it. So it's related to the actual location. And then the second flag that you'll see is the flag of the country in which the shovel is in the ground of. So if it's in the UK, it's UK flag, US flag, France, French flag, Spain, etc. Yeah, they're the two flags that you see. In Yorkshire, we've also got an F3 logo flag that we have on a tall flagpole when it's sunny and you can actually see it. But in the winter, it's pretty pointless.
Do you get sunny days in Yorkshire then, is that?
Not many.
It's only been out twice.
Not many, yeah.
Did your mansion flag get done by Snickers? 3 Snickers?
No, it wasn't Snickers. I'm going to give him credit for it because it was a guy in the US, and I will find it and I'll mention it.
You have to mention it because, I mean, props to name that person and also Snickers, because I know Snickers has done about 400 or something ridiculous. He's done tons of them. It's really nice to have somebody that's got the tech ability to create an idea.
Lancelot.
Lancelot.
I don't know where he is in the US. I don't know which AO, which region he's in, but yeah, he's supported us in Yorkshire with all 3 AO flags.
So big up Snickers and big up Lancelot for making AO flags for us. It really does. It gives you a nice sense. There's a real sense of ownership, I think, in a good way. You know, there's pluses and negatives with flags around a lot at the moment, but I like when I see how our guys care about getting that flag up and having it in the ground. I mean, ours doesn't go in the ground; it gets clamped to the fence because we have a concrete car park. But it's nice to have it up.
Indeed. Should we touch on the history and purpose of F3 and how it came about? We mentioned Dread earlier on in the episode.
Yeah.
Dread, David Redding, one of the 2 founders of F3, started in Charlotte in North Carolina. They decided 15 years ago, I think it was the 2nd of January or 3rd of January, like right at the beginning of the year, to set up a free workout group for men in the local area. They identified that there was lack of a male leadership community. They identified that fitness could be a good way of getting guys together and having a common purpose. So they put it up, and if I remember right, they had 30 for the first session. I
Yeah, I think
remember
that's
what they
right.
were saying. So really popular, and it's kicked off, and now in the US there's 5,000 plus locations, I think, across the country. So it's kicked off really well in the US, and 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, it was brought to the UK by Safari, who planted the first flag here in the UK, and now that's rolled out to 22 locations in the UK, something like that.
Good
I
question.
really should check because it's getting more and more. And yeah, it's growing and growing and now proliferating through Europe and Spain and France and Netherlands and Germany. Have all got locations in place. So yeah, it's going really well. And there's flags in every country, flags in every flag that goes in.
Yeah. And also in Africa as well, Safari the Beast in Kenya, he's planting. He's got a big mission on his heart this year to try and plant as many flags as possible and start as many new AOs as possible. So I hope he gets the blessing he needs to do that, really, because they are working hard in every way. You know, it's not that they're not just doing burpees, but you see them doing burpees and then they're feeding people and they've really got a whole mission going on over there. Yeah, Dread and OBT, you're right, it was, I think 30 was what they were saying, because they've just had their 15th anniversary celebrations. Been nice to listen to. He did a really good interview on the High Impact Man podcast early December now. It was really nice to listen to him talk with DFib and Dial Up about the core values and a bit more of the story again. We'll get him on. I mean, he loves making jokes about our accent, doesn't he? So we'll get him on at some point. It'll be nice to have him come and have a chat with us.
Or even better, get him over.
Well, yes. Yeah, no, that would be cool.
We did invite the CEO and Nansan of F3 Nation, Dark Helmet, on our last but one episode to come over.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's coming. And
he did confirm he was coming, didn't he?
Yeah. And DFib wants to come with him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I assume DFib will come on a cruise ship, though.
Lad's always on a cruise.
Oh, he likes a cruise, doesn't he? To be fair, just for total aside for DFib, the first time I went to America and back, it was on a ship. I went from Africa to America and then came back from America to the Netherlands. It's a nice way to do it if you can do it. It's not as quick as you look a bit perturbed by that notion.
An A330 in premium economy is not too bad.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sailing across the Atlantic. No, I get that. You know, I mean, that would have to be some premium quality cheese, wouldn't it?
It would be
to get business class. No, it's simply a matter of the fact that 10 or so days sailing across the Atlantic Ocean is is incredibly beautiful. It's also very cheap. I mean, not on a cruise ship, but when you were working on the ship and I was working in the interim, it was quite cheap to do. They started this workout and they didn't think it would spread, but it did. And like you said, it began to create some place to look at leadership and how men live. And it spawned Free to Lead, one of the books, which is really worth reading if you start to get into F3. And then Q Source, which is the other book, which is a little bit more heady in terms of, it's more like a port than a wine, to be fair. Again, good with cheese. But they were trying to look at how practically we take men out of isolation when they help men find community and better culture, I guess.
Okay, so next section, we wanted to talk and explain about what an FNG or a new person who's thinking of joining their first workout will need to do, or what they should bring or wear on their first workout. Um, okay, that may be slightly different depending on your location, but let's assume you're in the UK. Let's assume it's currently January, which it is, and it's minus numbers. What should we do, Shredder? What should we recommend if someone's turning up for their first workout?
Layers. Layers, genuinely, this is the time of year. So this week on Saturday, I got out my merino wool base layer, which is quite a static piece of clothing, to be honest. But with it being -4, I knew that was an important base layer. So I had that. Then I had a long sleeve top, which was quite tight. And then I had my regular F3 top on. I had a hoodie and then a net gaiter, like one of the hats with the holes, but a thicker one. And then a woolen hat, because you can take layers off. And that was what I saw the packs were doing as we were going. Layers were coming off. I actually wore, I know Derby and the circuit has concerns over men in tights, but there were worse films out there. But I had my general purpose leggings on, plus then a pair of leggings with shorts built into them, and then thicker winter F3 gloves, and inside those I had a pair of fingerless mitts. And I would just say to people, layer up. The queue knows it's cold. The guy leading it knows it's cold. And you know what? If you've been EH'd by someone and they're bringing you along, they know as well. So just put the layers on, and then there is time to strip off. Not everything, because this is a workout group, not one of those weird groups like that. And yeah, you can always just take a bit of clothing off. And I would, for when it's finished, if you're the kind of part of the DRW community, one of these dry robes, you can have a dry robe or something to put on at the end. If it's wet, you want something to put on your car seat, because the last thing you want to do is trash your car seat and have your M go, what have you done to the car? So just have a bit of spare gear in the car, especially as we've had 2 packs in the last couple of months begin to develop hypothermia in sessions. But layer up, man.
Yeah.
And then you'll be grand.
That hypothermia was probably an effect of not being laid up enough and not being prepared enough for the cold weather. So don't think it's going to happen. If
Oh no,
you're
crikey,
prepared,
that was that was at the end. That was the fact that they'd sweated it off.
Yeah.
And then they were standing around and they didn't have anything to put on.
Yeah.
There are so many companies from Regatta out there up to Through Dark, like expensive things, these big Parker type jackets. Just have something there that you can just whack over you and just keep you warm. Or go old school and just take a blanket, leave the blanket there, put it around you, keep you warm.
Yeah.
That's where you start. And if it's too much, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I've got too cold. It's okay. Give you a man hug.
Yeah. Well, my kit's probably not too dissimilar to yours at the moment. It's a base layer, tops, base layer, long arm, the top, base layer, leggings, shorts, t-shirt with a hoodie on as well. So that insulated workout gloves, of which we have spares available in the box at the AO. So again, whoever's invited you along might be able to tell you if we've got some spares for you. In Yorkshire, we do have a lot of areas that are outside of lit areas. So we do wear head torches. And again, we have spares of those in our boxes. So if you turn up, we can lend you one of those. And everything else is there. So we always offer coffee after the after the workout, after the circle of trust, we'll have a little coffee flask there, and we've got cups there too, so you can borrow one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly light in terms of equipment that you needed to bring. Just make sure your clothing's appropriate and your footwear is sensible, depending on where you are. We generally work out on the tarmac or on the asphalt, so it's generally good footing. It's generally a good pair of trainers should be sufficient. It just depends on the area. We have some muddy areas in some of our parks that we like to
Yeah.
transverse across. So trail running shoes might be slightly better as it gets towards the wet season. But again, that's something whoever's invited you along can advise you on
Yeah.
what's best to wear.
Yeah. A good grippy pair of shoes is no bad
Yeah.
thing. And sometimes a second pair of socks, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
But you'll be fine. If you dress for the cold, you'll be fine. You just take off a bit of extra if you get when you get too warm. And then you learn through doing, you know. Um I think most men, even allowing for the fact that there's bits of it that you wonder and you go, well, that's different. What's that like? You generally find most men will have had a lot of fun, will be surprised how much they've been welcomed, and generally speaking, most guys are looking forward to coming again. That tends to be the norm, doesn't it? Okay, well, come on to the final thoughts then for people looking at coming. Never underestimate yourself if you're thinking about coming into a location, because for some people they might have seen us around a bit and think we've always been here, but we haven't. There was a point when we didn't exist in this F3 world, and you simply just don't know what it means for the fact you've joined something and you're part of a community. And so whatever gifts you've got, to me, whatever talents and skills, all the things that you bring, we need you to come and get involved and to share them. There are plumbers to physicians. There's A to Z in this F3 world. So come, be not just welcomed, but belong. And who you are really can help shape that AO. Some of you who watch this, you might think, actually, when I was an FNG, there was bits I found that a little bit difficult. Well, work on the short fallings that you saw in the past. So when you're there and you see people coming in, be that gap that you wished had been filled. Fill it yourself and actually be the person who. Some people are really good at making sure that newer people are always included. Some are really good at making sure that they hand out the coffee. Just do those little things that make the other person welcome. Yeah, I mean, if you're still not sure about coming, then I guess the simple answer is come, because we need you. We need your skills, your gifts, who you are in the mix, because you don't know what you might bring. I mean, we talked last March now about this podcast, and then from there, through some fiddling and working it out, we got to the point in July we started it, but none of this existed, and here it is, and you're listening to it. So who knows what you can bring? So just chuck that rock in the pool and watch the ripples. And it's fun to throw rocks in pools, isn't it? So come and join us, because we'll grow because you're here.
Yeah, and it points as we said at the beginning. Look back to where we were 18 months ago. I'd not even heard of F3. I think you were on similar journey as well, weren't you, Shredder? So yeah, it's something I'd completely endorse for any man to try. Try at least once, come along, give it a go. It might stick for you, it might not. But I challenge you. I challenge you to any man listening to come and give it a try, because the fitness part will certainly get your interest. You'll be like, oh, okay, I might need that to improve my fitness, my accountability. But once you're in, the guys that are there will make the difference for you. And they'll be there to help you be accountable. They'll be there to support you. They'll be there to guide you as well and to continue that fitness journey. So yeah, I can't rate it high enough. And certainly I want every guy in Yorkshire to at least know that we're here and hopefully turn up. But
Absolutely.
that'll be a busy day when they do, but looking forward to it.
Even the guys in Lancashire that you can turn up to.
Do you know, come over, you're all welcome. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I think if you're at home and you listen to this and you think you're all made up, then I think it may not be that F is the right place for you at this time. But I think if you recognize that in some way in your life there's something absent or missing, I can guarantee between the fitness, faith, and the fellowship, it's in what we're doing. It's in there, you know, and I think it's again in the F3 language when Dredd talks about the daily red pill, it does sound a bit matrixy to look at life and say, there's just something missing. There's just something here that doesn't flow right or fit right, or I'm short on this. And I think just genuinely when they started back 15 years ago, they were looking at the fact that people are going, oh, you know, there's a place in men where we're isolated or we're a bit lost or we're turned around. So if you recognize that fuzzy spot or dark spot or gap, you're not going to lose anything by coming and try it. And I tell you what, you're going to gain a damn sight more than just sitting around picking your nose, just wondering what you should do. You know, and you'll have a lot of fun. There is hardly a beatdown that happens where you haven't, apart from perhaps feeling completely blasted and some of your muscles are going, well, do you not like me anymore? But it's a lot of fun, man. You know, even on those worst sets of exercises where it does really feel like the Q's had a bad week and so he's decided to make you crab walk halfway around the planet. It's just, it puts such a smile on your face to do that with a group of men that are actually really bothered about you. It's so cool. So come and join us. Come and join us and just recognize that everybody around you, they're on this journey too. And some of them, it's not that long, like we were, since we were there for the first time going, sorry, you want me to do what? Why is it called a merkin? Is this a cult? No, it's not. And all these things that we wonder. So come and join us. And when your space is filled, you'll be looking around you going, who am I going to get in this gap next to me? And we keep growing this wonderful movement. Like Dark Helmet says, this is an infinite game, isn't it? Just goes on and on until we're giving every man a chance. You want all of Yorkshire. I'd like to see all of London and beyond. We need to get this awesome movement given out to all of the men in England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So there's still a couple left. We've got a little bit of work to do.
Yeah, indeed. Come along and try it. It's free. It's completely free. Turn up, work out for free.
Yes. Come and join us. We'll see you in the gloom.
The gloom? What does that mean?
What's the gloom? It means, well, up in Yorkshire, it just means the normal weather, doesn't
normal
it?
Normal day, yeah.
The gloom is the phrase for the kind of dark, isn't it? The working hour of power when we go out and smash another exercise. It's sublime sometimes. You watch the sunrise, you'll see satellites. I don't know if you've noticed it, but the last few days, Jupiter has been so bright above us from the east to west. I actually thought it was part of I thought the Big Dipper had moved because I could see the tip of what I thought was the beginning of the panhandle.
Yeah, with the North Star.
Yeah, I was like, but it was Jupiter. You know, you'll hear bats, you'll have foxes try and climb in your car, all sorts of crazy things. And it's just brilliant. So come. You know you want to.
Excellent. Well, for those who have listened and are interested, plenty of resources. You've probably found this episode on a Facebook page or something, or been sent it directly from someone you know, someone who thinks this might be the thing for you to come and try. Again, looking forward to seeing those of you in Yorkshire who may want to turn up. Is there anything you want to add, Shredder?
F3near.me.
Yes.
If you are, it's like a brainwave. It's like we planned this. I just about 5 seconds ago when, if they're watching this and they don't know where their nearest workout is, they need to go to f3near.me. It's a website and it will link you to your nearest F3 workout anywhere on this fair planet. I say that with some concern. Hopefully it would if you were in Australia. You'd have to get on a plane. But F3 near .me will help you find your nearest location. And I do think that should give you, in theory, not just a postcode and an address. It should give you, if you're an AOQ and you've listened to all of this, it really should have a contact detail so that they can check in with you that when they turn up in a car park at stupid o'clock, you're really going to be there. So F3 near.me. That's how you find your nearest F3 workout. Said it enough times.
Excellent. So yeah, looking forward to seeing those people who do follow the link, find the nearest workout, contact someone to say they're interested in coming. And those who turn up in the dark and hopefully not dark for too long. Yeah, look forward to meeting you out in the gloom.
Nice.
So I think that wraps up today's episode of In Cadence Shredder. I think we've
Yes.
talked in depth about FNGs and what they are, what F3 is about at sort of top level, what that means for someone who's thinking of turning up and doing their first workout, what's typically going to go on. I think it's hopefully should explain a little bit to people who might be curious.
And they can send us an email, can't they?
They can.
Send us an email. You can put the email address in the show notes. Yep, there you
And
go.
up there.
And up there. Because if there's anything else that you're not sure about and you want to ask a question, ask us a question. We can try and help. It's possible that we might help.
Yeah. And if we can't answer it ourselves, we'll put you in contact with someone who can.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure who that is. But
Don't know,
yes.
but we'll find someone.
We'll find someone. If not, we'll find someone that sounds confident. Cool. Right. Well, see you again. See you soon. Keep watching In Cadence. We will come back very soon with an actual guest from one of our AOs to tell you about their story, their journey, and what they do in their part of the F3 UK world.
Fabulous. Right, have a fantastic start of 2026. And
Yes.
see you on the next episode of In Cadence.
Bye.
Bye.